Hi, my name's Islean Gibson. I'm the head teacher at Kinlochrannoch Primary School, and I'm here today to present my paper about developing a culture of research through learner-led research and answering the question about the role of a senior leader within this type of culture. In every school, we always start out with the firm belief of our making a difference. And from the outset in taking up my post at Kinlochrannoch, I feel this belief underpinned every step I took to ensuring our school ethos, our vision, our priorities focused on making this a reality. But the key question for me was, how do we do this? What do we need to change our school culture into one that solves its own queries, that creates a strong relationship-based foundation, and really find out the what, the why, the who, the how, and improve culture that creates its basis in action research-based improvement. Now, this is not an easy journey for any school to take by any means, and I would argue that this process is not solely about creating a school culture for research to flourish and inform improvement, but it's about creating an educational culture that lets research thrive, shares the ownership of all its research with every member of its school and its wider learning community. It's about the challenges that are faced to move forward to this new style of school culture and having the confidence as a senior leader to really let go, trust and share, so as be able to use high quality research to tell you the story and achievements of your school, its learners, its family and community. And this paper aims to provide a narrative of our journey towards this. So my first idea is to present the what, why, who aspect that started us on the road to becoming a research-driven school. As with any drive towards excellence, schools always need to start with their bread and butter, if you like, their educational provision, the what that they are striving to be the best of within. As a senior leader, this should be your heart and soul, the reason that you get up in the morning and give 100% of everything you have every day. It's the only real credit I can take in the change in the way that Kinlochrannoch works as a whole school community learning partnership. And it's my want of to give of my absolute best to ensure my learners and families and staff and visitors, community, partner agencies can all be involved in what makes Rannoch so amazing. And the rest lies in the building of open, honest, real partnership-based relationships that have allowed Rannoch to move towards the solution-based action research-led way of working across all aspects of life in our wee school. As any real and school improvement always does, it stemmed from a question that I asked of my learners, namely, what would we do to make, or what could we do to make daily life in school better for them? And as you can imagine, their answers were as far-reaching as you will no doubt believe. But one group of children came with an idea in a package that completely transformed my way of thinking as a school leader. Namely, that they had seen a newspaper article and some stories on the news about having dogs in schools to help with reading, but that they knew that having a dog around gave them so much more than the confidence to read. Dogs would give them the confidence to try new learning, face the day, be a good friend to others, and make everyone who came into our building feel happy and safe. And if they got a school dog, they were going to prove this was the case. Now, normally pupils and families come to talking about school improvement steps with the idea that more resources will help, or more times tables will make us better mathematicians, or with ideas based from their own school experiences, such as stricter rules or more homework. Our school staff see an area that needs improvement in terms of attainment or learning experience, but not with the approach of here is an idea, here's the basis in previous research, and we want to prove that this is something that will work for us and make a difference for everyone. So this group of then primary six, age 10-year-old pupils knew from their own experience that having a dog at home, that their dog gave them emotional support, the courage to try new things, and built their responsibility through their ownership of their pet, and felt really strongly that a dog was not just for reading. In fact, it was there to help with life skills. Now, that's their words and not mine, but they strongly echo the thinking of Burton et al. That I had read, and about being genuine, right there in front of you kind of moment. No prompt, no guidance, just this is what we think it should be. And that's the moment when our whole school team, our pupils, our staff, our families, and me began to change their mindset and became our who. School should really be about continuous improvement. And my pupils know that that would only come if they challenged the norm. They took ownership and ideas into their own hands and gave a proper viewpoint from which to start. They built their why, and we started our journey to become a relationships based, participatory, action research driven, inclusively led, where all ideas are accepted, discussed, researched, rigorously evaluated to ensure continuous improvement. And this is exactly how Kinlochrannig Primary School now operates on a day-to-day basis. So my next idea to present is the how and improve aspects on this road to becoming a research-driven school. It's how we use participatory action research to take our first steps to being a research-driven learning community. And as with all critical thinking and all action research, it's very messy to begin with. The learners took their ideas, they thrashed them out, they came back with links to newsround videos about reading dogs, and a speech that compels us to give us a go. One pupil said when they were sad at home, they got a cuddle from their dog and everything felt better again. And if we had a dog in school, they would personally guarantee that if someone was not in a good place, a doggy cuddle would make all the difference. So we start to look at the how would we know this was the case, and it really broadened the discussion between learners, staff and families as to what benefits they could see from the dogs being in school. This widened the list of what we might find dramatically, and with brilliant guidance from the University of Dundee, we were able to see that what we were looking at was self-efficacy traits that bolster learning and engagement. The learners asked questions, planned how they might find a dog and its owner that would be willing to come into school to support their research, and what their timeline for investigation might be. And we came up with our research questions and started to forge ahead. And here's where my role as facilitator came into its own. From these discussions and possible lines of inquiry that the learners had produced, I just needed to find the right research analysis tool to really allow them to find out if their hypotheses were correct. I took a range of self-efficacy scales to the learners to decide on which they thought would be best suit their needs. And they selected the self-efficacy scale from the work of Bandura. And I did the bit you have to do as a school leader, which is create the school improvement planning around their ideas, check with the local authority it was okay to research in this way. And then the team of pupils planned out who the dogs would interact with, using the results from their baseline self-efficacy data collection, what types of tasks the dogs would support, and noting for individual learners where they expected to see an improvement in their responses to the assessment at the middle and end data collection points because of having these interactions. It was seriously like watching the elements of children's participation in research from Duckett et al. Come to life in front of your very eyes. And then, well, we just let it run. If anything, that was my role, was to step back and do this, which is exceptionally hard as a senior manager. But I have learned that in doing this, the trust and the responsibility and the respect for using participatory action research across the whole school community has just become our way of being. And I don't think that would have happened if I hadn't let go. Not worried about the presentation of results and just focus on the supporting relationships between the pupil-led research team, between the pupils and the dogs themselves, between the dog owners who came in from across our communities to support the pupils, across the staff who just relish seeing such a high level of empowerment engagement from the pupils themselves, and encouraging them to try these approaches for themselves through other aspects of school improvement. Ergler argues that we need to work towards more dynamic, meaningful and realistic models of participation. And it speaks to the messy realities of becoming a child-led researcher. And I would agree that this way of working does meet our moral imperative, not only to reach the goal of participation rights for children, but it does create that elusive gold standard within educational research, as who's better placed to investigate the realm with which they work in than those within it themselves. And Even we have the results to prove this. Not only did we see that for every learner there was an increase in the evaluation of their self-efficacy, we saw a correlating increase in academic attainment, in skills for life learning and work development, and the genuine feeling of empowerment that now emanates across our school every day. Without going into all the areas of the self-efficacy traits we investigated using Bandura's self-efficacy scale, we saw the biggest increase for all learners in terms of their assertiveness, resilience and regulation in learning and social skills development, namely teamwork. One of our pupil research team noted at the time that they felt our school had always been good at these things, but the results they had gathered showed that we were so much more than that. And out of this actually came our lived vision and ethos of small but mighty, because they knew that even though we're a small school, we accomplish mighty things. So my next idea to present is the improvement impact. And it's not hard to see, and I would even argue feel from the photos that the researchers took to complement their self-efficacy scale evidence, that the impact was profound. For some pupils, it was genuinely life-changing. We had one pupil come to us just because their family had heard we had dogs in school, and their child had been a school refuser since age 3, and now was aged 11 and in primary 7. Our pupil research team quickly saw the benefit of the interactions with one of our dogs that was having for this child. And the success of this story was that the child themselves built up from an hour a day to full-time pupil participation in 2 terms, and then successfully moved on to secondary education. One of our cool canine pupil researchers said very boldly that that particular learner would not have managed to build the skills that they needed to be in school full-time if the dogs were not there, and that they themselves had made that difference by introducing the initiative. Something Graham et al. Alluded to into their paper about the potential benefits of learner-led research in developing and enhancing social well-being and skills for life. Staff and the community members who brought their dogs into school also reported the same confidence-boosting outcomes as being part of this research too. They found that it built relationships with all members of our learning community on an equal footing, allowed everyone to have their say, and that their voice in improvement, what it should look like and what it should look like in terms of accomplishment too. Even our learner research team found that this way of working enabled them to have a positive experience, more ownership of their school and its direction of travel. Though one was very quick to point out that they liked researching, but they would love it if there was a bit less paperwork. They liked the legacy they have left for others to now that they have moved on to secondary education. One felt that they now had more skills to help them cope with being in a bigger school. And for me, this was the encapsulation of everything. The fact that having this level of ownership and direction could really support genuine inquisitive and the want to make a difference in other setting. The same people even said, I hope they work this way in my new school. And I genuinely hope so too. It's a game changer. So my next idea is to present the culture aspect of our journey. And all I can say is out of one tiny spark of creative thinking, showcasing exactly how research can be brought into the daily life of any school, we have set out on a journey to make our use of participatory action research real, exciting, genuine, and just impactful on the way that we learn and work in our school. And yes, the dogs are still part of this. And why do we keep on working in this way? Well, you can see from the pictures why. You can see from the children reactions why. You can see that even in lockdown learning, we can take an initiative and we can move it on in a different way, with our dogs being involved in live lessons and the daily catch-ups in our school. But there is lots of guidance telling us just how important this is, both for whole school communities and for the learners themselves. Because of the way of using participatory action research can become the way almost anything is figured out in the life of a school, because it gives a voice to those who may not necessarily shout the loudest, because it shows you as a senior leader exactly what's working and what's not working, and how those who are ultimately going to get the most out of any change or improvement can genuinely lead, be creative, review, argue, debate, speak out, knowing that their answers are supported by the evidence they gather. So we will keep working in this way, And I will keep on learning as a senior leader from the ideas and evidence that now regularly gets dripped off before me. And if I was to do it all again, I think I would change my questions round, because I would want to really showcase in much more depth the impact of learners leading improvement through participatory action research. For us, this change in direction, in practice, in way of being, clearly showed that a culture of research in reality is not just transformational leadership. It's the potential to have research underpin conversations and communication, to strengthen practice, to help develop relationships, to drive a whole school team towards real and tangible goals. Let people see that the way their world is valued and offer such an insight in how to get their education, their learning and teaching right, becoming a real vehicle for families and partner agencies and our wider learning community to make a difference and see that difference of their creation. A culture of research is a real mindset of its own, and one that brings with it growth, togetherness, a lived vision, a conscious set of values that drive purpose and ethos, that is truly alive and does not get relegated to the school paperwork or posters on the classroom wall. It's become our school's daily culture, and is a journey that I would encourage researchers and schools alike to make that first step on, as being led by those who are directly involved in the outcome of your research could not be of more significance in today's educational practice development, its policies or its political drivers. It should be placed as the most centrally theoretically based practice because of its potential for far-reaching and sustainable improvement. And that's what makes the originality of this research so powerful. We all now ask the questions: what's the issue we experience? What evidence do we have to show why this is happening? Who should be involved in discussing about it? Can we find examples that will help us reach a solution or a conclusion or a next step? How will we do this? What measurements or assessments will be used, and what might they show? And this takes us to the improved step of our journey, where we all evaluate together everything that has been gathered, done, or experienced. We take everyone's opinion about the process and the results and decide together to what we're going to do or where we're going to go next. This has built our culture of real ownership, of genuine research, no matter how small the issue, and a shared continuous ambition of improvement. We make our small but mighty paw print on our learning world. And what do I need to do as a senior manager? I need to listen, trust in the processes we've created, be prepared to facilitate, adapt, change, and most importantly, believe in the power of the ideas that learners, staff, families, and communities can create. Thank you.